In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the SIG Rattler LT. I'm also going to be trying 3 different subsonic rounds so we can look at grouping size, noise, and flash suppression on the SureFire 300 SPS. I do have a SureFire 3-prong flash hider on here. The closed-tine muzzle devices do not do well with flash suppression, at least on specific rifles. On my BCM 11.5, it was shooting fireballs out of the front because of the closed-tine device. So it's important, if you're using a SureFire suppressor, that you do have an open-tine muzzle device. I am going to be zeroing the Federal 300 Blackout 220 grain for my Aimpoint T2 here. This is mostly what I was leaning towards. I did want to try out these other ones because the Sub X does pretty well ballistically. These are the Hornady Sub X 190 grain 300 Blackout Subsonic ammunition. And then the last one is Hornady Black 300 Blackout ammunition. This is a 208 grain Amax round. The main thing I saw with this is that it's a pretty dirty round, so we'll see how it runs in the gun. I do have a Lancer specific 300 Blackout magazine. This is going to help with reliability and consistency. I also do like to use these for 300 Blackout in general. SIG Sauer MCX lower to be used with my Rattler LT upper. So this should work a lot better than the SIG Sauer conversion kit that I was using before, and I had some trigger malfunctions with that. We'll get to take a look at groupings at 50 yards in front of me. I'm going to try to be as stable as possible. One thing that's important to note about the Rattler uppers is that the barrel is a 1 in 5 twist weight, which is really fast. They're using a 1 in 5 twist rate to help stabilize subsonic ammunition. You can actually risk jacket separation on cheaper rounds like your AAC, Ammo Inc., other cheaper stuff like that. That's a little bit more affordable. It works for some people, other it doesn't. I've also heard some Winchester white box that has destroyed people's suppressors. The jacket on the bullet will separate and send pieces into the suppressors, destroying the baffles and the suppressor. I wanted to be picky on the round I chose. The Federal, that's about $1 a round, and so is this other stuff, or it can be a little bit more expensive. 300 Blackout ammo is very expensive, especially if you get into very accurate and reliable ammunition. It can be all the way to $2 to $3 a round. The first I'm starting out with is 5 rounds of the Federal 220 grain. I'm going to try to get this zeroed in, and then we'll move on to the other rounds, see if we're having any problems. Now, these are open tip rounds. It has a small hole in the front. For the adjustable gas setting, this does need to be to the plus side for subsonic ammunition because it needs as much gas as possible to be able to cycle the round. I did already make sure that the suppressor is centered over the muzzle device and barrel, so there's no chance that it could hit the baffles. I'm gonna go ahead and rack a round into the chamber. Obviously, this isn't the most ideal setup, but gotta work with what I got. Try to get a slow trigger press. First round sounds great. It's just the action. That's the loudest part about it, is the bolt carrier cycling. It's kind of a crack. It's not too loud to the ear. If you were in a hallway or something like that, it'd probably be a little bit louder, but definitely hearing safe. The bullet flying down range, it just sounds like, pew! That's it, sizzling down range. The last round, because the bolt carrier came open, I got a little bit of gas, but overall, that's really not gassy at all, especially compared to your 5.56 guns. No problem so far with 5 rounds. I think I pushed that one there, but we have about a 1 3/8 group at 50 yards. If we're counting that one, we have a 2 1/4 inch group. 5 more rounds of the Federal. We should be pretty close to dialed in. Better with the SIG lower on here now. Pushed on a few again. We're still in the 2-inch range. We're 15 rounds in with the Federal 220. It's not really dirty. Next up, we're gonna do 10 rounds of the Hornady Sub X. We're gonna see if these jam at all. These are 190 grain, so it is the lowest grain out of all 3. In the Lancer 300 Blackout mag, they look like they should feed fine. Goes. Feeds fine. Still really quiet. Still not terribly dirty, but it has those yellow particles coming out. More gassy. Still about the same quietness. The Hornady Sub X definitely has a much smaller grouping. Even with 10 shots, I'm far below 2 inches. Right there, I'm under 2 inches, and side to side, I'm at about 2 inches. And also, I'm having less flyers. The Hornady Black 300 Blackout 208 grain Amax ammunition. These do have a red plastic tip and appear to be the longest and longer than the Hornady Sub X rounds. So we're gonna see, maybe these are the ones that get caught in there. There still is a space. We'll see how these feed. Seem to chamber pretty well. Definitely a bit gassy. No malfunctions. I do believe that was the gassiest round out of all three. I was seeing a lot more coming out of the front of the suppressor. It seemed to be about the same of what I was getting back to the face from the charging handle and stuff, about the same with the Sub X. The trigger's not as bad as I thought. Actually pretty decent for being a 5-pound trigger. There's not much of a wall, but it still pulls back pretty well and feels pretty consistent, even though there's not a clear, distinct wall. I have a couple flyers that could have been me pushing on it or the ammunition itself. Overall, we are getting about the same grouping as the Sub X, about 1 7/8, even smaller top to bottom at 1.5 inches. The last test I'm going to perform is 5 rounds of each ammo back to back. This will push to see if it can cycle different rounds in mags. First up, we have 5 rounds of the Federal 220, then it'll be another 5 rounds of the Hornady Sub X, and then lastly 5 rounds of the Hornady Black. I'll fire them in a more rapid succession. First up, Federal 225 rounds. There was almost no gas at all. Pretty pleasant to shoot. Next up, Sub X 190 grain Hornady. Not terribly bad gas-wise. There was a little to my face. Not a whole lot coming out the end. Last up, 5 rounds of Hornady Black 208. All ran out. The Hornady Black definitely seemed to have the most gas back to the face. The Sub X was all consistent. I didn't push on anything, and it was all in a nice 2-inch group. The Federal had the least gas back to the face and seemed to be the cleanest overall. Although it was the highest in grain weight, the group was the biggest on the Federal, but not by a whole lot. All these ran pretty good with no malfunctions. The lower worked a lot better over using the conversion kit, and sound-wise, I couldn't tell a difference myself between the round. The SureFire 300 SPS did a good job, in my opinion, with sound suppression. The Hornady Sub X is a hollow point, so it's going to be a little bit better for self-defense. For bullet velocity, you're getting 1050 feet per second on the Sub X, and you're getting 1020 feet per second on the Hornady Black. Feet per second does matter for penetration. All would be viable options. I do like the Sub X, which I might be going for this depending on the price. If not, I'm just going to use some cheap Federal 220. None of this is extremely dirty in my opinion. The Sub X with the yellow pieces of debris and gunpowder would gum things up a little bit faster. It's still pretty clean. The bolt, there's still some oil on there, and about 50 rounds we shot. I think all these are pretty solid. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share to help support the channel, and thank you for watching.